Okay, this is to an atheist that I respect a lot. Talk to me about life, and he talks about, this is just the last part of the question. Also, please forgive me, I've been gone for a while. Not really gone, but insanely busy, let's say. Now, this is a point that I've made about the crucifixion a lot. John being 60 years, in the 60 years since the time it was written, I'm not really, I don't really believe that. I mean, there's no virgin birth. The author of John keeps calling Jesus a Samaritan. He kind of doesn't know that he should be a descendant of David or that a virgin birth happened. He doesn't even know that he's supposed to be a Jew, it seems like. But let's go through this. Now, I recently watched a video on the man that dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, one that was in the Enola Gay, and he was able to remember even how to do everything with the bomb and everything that morning. Witnessing a man being brutally tortured to death, somebody who's your guru, who you looked up to for 3 years, being brutalized, and then just the 5 days around that, not to mention that it was a special time where there were 2 Passovers. It doesn't seem that odd to me, considering that. Let's go back 70 years. Now, I've been using the example of 30 years for Vietnam because my parents' generation was in Vietnam, and ever since 2000, I've been using Vietnam because it began. I mean, the real hard stuff was between 67 and 72, and people remember their entire tour vividly. So 68, 78, 88, 98, 2008, 2018, or let's say 17. But that's an entire tour. That's what, 13 months? I think some people got it off easy with 11 months, some 9 of a tour. Now, and then there were 3-month tours, of course. Although people did 5 years tours. Then there were POWs who remember a lot. Yeah. Details were extremely important to them. And they usually didn't lie about their experience. They didn't like talking about it, but imagine you travel with somebody for 1 to 3 years, right? And you just idolize them. Maybe it was your big brother. Maybe it was a girlfriend of yours. Maybe it was your wife. And then you had to watch as they were judged by a kangaroo court, and then they were brutally executed after you tried to escape with them and be on the run. 30 years later, I believe you'd be able to recall every single last incident. And in the Gospels, we don't get that much minutia. We don't get that much, tiny little bits of things, although we do, as in any real story. An apocalyptic preacher comes around, right? He's a disciple of Paul or of John, or a follower of John, and then emerges and gathers his own followers, walks around, has 12 main guys, has a lot of other crowds. Remember, miracle workers were a dime a dozen this time. in place in society, but he was an apocalyptic preacher, and you and your friends spent every day with him basically. Except sometimes you guys had to work, because it shows that in the Gospels. Sometimes they had to work, and then you had to hide out with this guy, and then there was the brutal torture and death. Now, most likely for years, your guys are going to be like, remember when he said this or that? And if somebody got something wrong, you'd be like, no, why are you screwing up the words of the master? No, he said this. Yeah, there's nothing really incredible in the gospel stories. Now, there is an account of the resurrection of Christ. You have the resurrection of Lazarus, but people say, well, he might not have been dead and this and that. But the Gospel of Mark does not have a resurrection story, at least not a bodily resurrection story. And then this spreads all over the world, from Ireland to India, from Greece to Ethiopia. And not even the pagans say, yeah, he never existed. Their argument was, our gods are, anybody who believes in a god, or that, a human being was part god, is from ancient times. I mean, you have like Vishnu and Arjuna, and you have Hercules. We know this. We know Pontius Pilate, that idiot, the guy that we sent out there, he executed him. This was not some guy like we do, where we make him up and he's a super. This was a normal guy. He had brothers and sisters, for God's sake. And you know what? His mother and his brothers and sisters thought he was insane. Was he some great philosopher that went to university? No, he was a tecton. He worked in Sepphoris as a stonemason. And he was crucified, which counts him out from being in the limelight of the Jews, because he who's hung on a tree is cursed. What's with these idiot Christians? And then you have Pliny torturing 2 deaconesses, and he executes them because they won't give up their belief in Jesus. All they have to do is say, oh, yeah, you're right, and they don't. And it frustrates the hell out of the Romans. What? Like, why not, like everybody else, will they, and they won't burn incense to other gods. Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, Yeshua Bar Yosef, yeah, he was a real guy. That Bar Yosef, was he the son of Joseph, or was he from the tribe of Joseph? Because remember, he gets called a Samaritan a lot. And he's from up north, he's not from south. It's really creepy that people say, like, oh, he never existed. Why are there 4 Gospels? If you're going to lie about somebody, if you're going to make up a story, you don't write 4 Gospels, especially Gospels that were written, 2 of them that were written against the other one. Matthew does not like Mark, and Luke, liking Mark, despises Matthew. And then you have John, which seems to not really know or care about these, these Jewish types of Gospels. But the stuff that they have in common is the stuff that they could not change, because people knew this guy. You'd think something would come up. Oh yeah, we made him up. Okay, end of persecution. No more Nero. Oh yeah, and guess what? A few hundred years later, no more Diocletian, who's murdering the shit out of anybody who he thinks is a Christian. Yeah, no, the apocalyptic preacher, Jesus, son of Mary, from possibly the tribe of Manasseh. Father's name was probably Joseph, not that uncommon, who was crucified under Pontius Pilate, and the apostles thought he rose from the dead. That guy existed. And even just use Occam's razor, how did Christianity begin? Mythicism has been dead for a while. I mean, I don't even know atheists that buy into mythicism. Coughlin 666 doesn't. Pat Condell doesn't. Matt Dillahunty won't even accept mythicism. Yeah, I don't see anything like, well, no, he didn't exist. Yeah, so that's just it. I mean, 4 Gospels and then a bunch of people writing about him. Not to mention, we have his brother. Paul talks about meeting his brother. If Paul thought that he was just some constellation in the sky or a spirit in the sky, why does he talk about him dying, burying, and being resurrected? Why does he talk about him eating a last meal, talking with people, being crucified, and having a brother that Paul knows? And Paul and James did not get along with each other. All right, peace to you.